Your mind is limitless. The possibilities are endless. Awaken Your Mind Magic shows you how you can dream limitlessly and live your life on a new level. Susan Kathleen speaks with ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives using the power of their mind.
Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Abundance, prosperity, and success. There are no limits to what you can dream. Join Susan Kathleen on a journey into your dreams, making a difference and living life on your own terms. This is Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Hello and welcome, everyone. My guest speaker today is Prosper Taruvinga. I bet you can't say that. I can. He's from Melbourne, Australia. He works with clients to raise brand awareness, generate leads, and find new customers. And he does this through quick and straightforward changes to a website where he dramatically improves the visibility of companies on search engines in any industry. Prosper is a marketing and advertising wizard and has studied at the University of South Africa, studied advertising and marketing at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. He studied real estate with a well-known Rich Dad education program and many other things which we shall speak about today. And this includes modeling. Yes, that's right, ladies. We have a male model here on the show with us today. Whoop, whoop. And best of all, he is a fellow Zimbabwean friend of mine. Welcome to Awaken Your Mind Magic, Prosper. It's great to have you here with us today.
Oh my God, Susan, thank you so much. You know, when you were saying all of that, I was wondering, who are they talking about? And then it just dawned on me that obviously these are the things that I've done. I really appreciate you having me on stage here today. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you being here because, wow, listeners, this man has an incredible story where he has gone from total adversity into absolutely amazing positivity. And this is a mindset that he has carried through from what I've researched on him, from being a little boy in Africa at a school in Zimbabwe. And I know that at the time, it was known that Zimbabwe had one of the best educational systems in the entire world. It was associated to the British educational system, and many of the schools were actually affiliated with very well-known posh British schools. So Prosper is not just a whiz, he is a brain bomb of note. So Prosper, tell us a little about your story and how you awakened your mind magic from adversity into positivity.
Absolutely. You know what, Susan, while you were talking about education and everything else, I was just thinking about, my whole journey up until now. And you know what I realized just this moment? The journey still goes on. You keep getting awakened. All right. So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you've been. If you pay attention to what is actually happening to you at that particular moment, it works out. So like you said, I was brought up in Zimbabwe, obviously to a middle class sort of family at that time. My dad was a cop and my mom was a nurse. So they at least would be able to bring food to the table. But the economy and everything else did not, play to their cards at that time. And I think you would remember that's a time when there was that whole discrepancy and dishelving of what Zimbabwe was like. We called those days from Mazoe to, from Mazoe Orange Crush to like water that's not even purified, So the economy went down and everything else just didn't work well. But there was instilled in us a need and a yearning to learn, to always be better, do better, and go ahead. All right. So for me, it all started when I was going into what they call Form 1. So that's when you're coming in from like primary school and you're going into junior high, to say the words of the Western world. And that's when I went to a school that had an expatriate student who eventually had come in from Australia and was teaching mathematics at that school that we were there. So everything was new for me. And to be frank, that's the first time I'd actually seen a white person at really, really close proximity. I mean, there was white people in Zimbabwe, would meet them in shops and everything else, but one that would, talk to you and really want to, converse and want to see you progress. So I took, inclined to that. And I felt like she had stories to tell because she was different. Okay. So we listened to what she was saying about Melbourne, about how she grew up, about how she keeps wanting to travel around the world. And for me, that was the spark that showed me that you can literally go around the world doing what you absolutely love. All right. And I didn't know that was possible. You could just maybe travel from Mutare to Victoria Falls or Harare to Chipinge, and that was it. You wouldn't even go to like South Africa or Namibia or Malawi because Zimbabwe was the breadbasket. So we never had a need to leave our place up until the economy changed. So that spark started when the teacher started telling me about her stories, and it felt really, really interesting that you could be, do, and have whatever you want wherever you can. So for me, that awakened it for me. I started learning, studying, getting really close to her. She even introduced us to some pen pals in Australia, which made it very, very genuine that there is life out there, because they would send us toys and, souvenirs and all those knickknacks. Now, can you imagine? I'm this African kid with an Australian pen in class and all of those things. So it just really was a whole different, for me growing up. And that fascinated me up until I started on my journey to make sure that I ended up here. And there we are.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I've watched a video about you, and I know you've got it on a lot of your social media, and it actually made me cry because it was so heartwarming, where you set out to find this person who had been basically your mentor and a person who, like you say, made you realize that you could become this digital person. And of course, in those days, it wasn't so digital, but this person who could travel. I mean, I'm a digital nomad. Well, when I'm allowed to fly somewhere, at the moment, not. Here I am in Brisbane. Not to say that I'm unhappy about that, but speak more about that. Let the listeners hear about that.
Absolutely. See, I've vowed to become an idea for every other African kid out there that you too can be, do, and have the life that you live. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. When we were growing up, we did not have Instagram. We did not have Facebook or some sort of access to, the people that we aspire to. So safe to say, we actually did not have role models. Now, she became a role model to me. I now wanted to go out there and help other people have a happier existence the same way she had made me and all the other kids in my class do. All right. So when I got here, I started noticing that, wait a minute, I did not come here alone. It's because of where I am now. I'm stepping on the shoulders of giants. I need to go back and look for which giants these are and at least let them know that do not ever stop whatever you're doing, because you never know who's going to come knocking on your house's door and say, because of you, I did not forget. So for me, that is very, very important. To have people that come to me later on in life saying, because of you, I did not give up. Right? So I thought I would give her that gift by really showing up, because obviously she did promise to say, hey, if ever you are in Melbourne, please come around and have a cuppa. I just wanted her to eat her words.
And what happened then? How did you manage to find her?
Great stuff. So when I came here to Australia, when things were not as easy. But when I started to gain ground and I started to see that I am rightfully placed, that's when I started looking out for her. But when you're looking for people, you raise a lot of eyebrows because, I mean, obviously there's safety around. Why are you searching so much for such a person? I actually attracted the eyes of the federal police, and they invited me nicely to their offices, and they asked me why you just came from Zimbabwe and what's the whole point in you going about searching for this woman. And then I told them the story, and that I wanted to just say thank you for having helped me realize that, where I was temporary. So with that being the case, obviously the federal police has an arm that has their publicity, just in case cases are being brought in, the public wants to know who's done what, just to keep the public informed. So they then ushered me into this office. There was this other really nice lady, and she started talking to me about publicity, and she said, would you want this story aired just in case you could be on radio and somebody would know who your teacher was, and eventually you could get found? And I was a bit hesitant because now, the cops have been involved. Now I'm going public about this, and coming from Zimbabwe, you don't just go public, in
no
public
ways. I hear you, brother.
I was like, nah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what this trap is. Just get me out of here, And 2-3 weeks later, I actually got a letter, an email from Channel 9 saying, we heard your story and we are starting a new series called This Time Next Year. Would you want to be a part of our contestants in this story? And I was like, I've never heard of this channel before. How much of a trap is this? And I was also thinking, this is somebody else's life. If you guys were worried that I'm invading your privacy, now you want to publicize the whole thing. Like, it didn't make sense. It was like an oxymoron, but you should have seen me there. I was like a chameleon in a bag of Skittles, I didn't know what color to be. So I then talked to a few other people, and then they said, no, there's this guy, Carl Stefanovic. He's really good at what he does. And then the publicity arm of Channel 9 called me, and they're like, it's all up to you. We can help you find this lady, and we can support you in every way you can. We can, if there's need for travel, public, private agents and all that stuff. Now, there was also that little brain inside of me that was going, hey, this could be good. I didn't know what it would turn out to be, but then I now started thinking, these guys are paying so much attention to this. This could be good. Because I also know that the universe does not deal you cards that you cannot handle. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you are given, you have the strength inside of you to deal with it. So I was just like, you know what? Let's awaken my mind magic. Let me get amongst it. And then we got there. But obviously there was that fear that what if she doesn't reciprocate? What if there was that fear of rejection, that maybe she says, no, I don't want any of this. And then I would have wasted people's time. And you know what I mean? I didn't want to be that person. So eventually, we went on. Channel 9 did everything they could to make sure that reunion happened. And the best part about it is the first time I actually met her was that moment you'll actually see on TV.
Fantastic.
And they made sure that happened. And I was sitting in the car when they were setting up the cameras and everything else, and I didn't know what was happening. And they were talking to her. They even had a counselor that had to speak to her, because then they wanted to let her know the impact of how this was going to go, so that she would agree. And she's like, oh my God, I can't explain this. Yeah, why not?
So you gave her an opportunity as well, by your passion to be able to find this wonderful woman. And I have seen, Prosper, that video where you just break down and cry. And your beautiful little girl sees that. She's sitting on her mummy's lap. And the beauty of that was that she was allowed to come and sit on your lap and meet this wonderful woman as well. Because she wouldn't exist, let's face it, in Australia if this woman hadn't have influenced you.
Absolutely. So you actually brought me to that place again. What was happening to me then was I was sitting on national TV. Everything that a lot of people aspire for. It was just right there in front of me. I had the crowd, I had the interview person. I even had a tailored suit. Did you even look at that suit I was wearing, man?
Oh my goodness, very chic. Très chic, darling. I did. I thought it was Savile Row.
and it all just became surreal to me that, wait a minute, how did this happen? And then there's that little imposter going in, who are you? What is actually happening, And then the thing that brought me back to reality was the sound of my little girl's cry in the crowd. That then made it real, because you know what? Instinctively, if I'm sitting here, because I've been working from home for a while, if I hear her cry, no matter what, I'm dashing out to go see what's happening, because just in case mom is in the shower and she's left by herself. I felt helpless because I didn't know, because I was all wired up and there was cameras in front of me. You know what I mean? I didn't know what was the right thing to do for the very first time in my life.
That's incredible. But you did the right thing. I mean, you just looked, but I mean, the guy interviewing you just saw the moment there as well.
Oh, you see, you know why I'm really proud of that moment, sorry, is because he's got people in his ear. He's got psychologists and lawyers in his ear, right? So they are the ones that are looking at my body language. They're looking at, do you have to ask that question, stand back a little bit, clean that up or whatever, because that's my life. That's his job. So they would have been somebody who would have mentioned and said, hey, bring that, you're losing him. Bring that kid to him.
How incredible.
Right? And I saw that happening and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, fine. I'm by myself. He's got his team, and my kid is out there crying. I just wanted her to be fine. And there's a big lesson if anybody goes to watch that little scene there, because some people have this whole work-life balance where when I'm professional, I'm professional. Kids can, might as well just stay out, do whatever they're doing up until I'm done with what I'm doing. Then I had no ego. Then it was just me and my world and everything that was happening there. And all I just wanted was to make sure that my little girl was well. But I'm going to remind her one day, because she owes me a dry cleaning bill, because, she then messed up my suit and everything, come on. Who does that? It was national TV,
Oh, well, I'm sure that with a father like you and a beautiful mother like she has, when she's grown up, she'll be able to buy you a few suits. And do you really want a suit at the moment during COVID-19?
Well, I'll tell you something. I haven't stopped working in COVID-19, and that's you see the beauty of all of this is I've created it in such a way that I can work throughout hard times and tough times. Because now I have an idea that I want to create, so I can be the role model for those that cannot have people to aspire to become. So now I've got a duty. I'm working for people that I don't even know. So who am I to stop showcasing that this is possible? And yes, I do need to wear a tailored suit. I dressed up for you today. Yeah, you see?
I saw that. And I'm going to have you back again when I start to do lives and people can see this handsome man in his get up. He looks pretty cool. I mean, I've had some guests that come on and say, okay, Susan, I know that this isn't on camera. It's voice. So they're in their pajamas. Cool. As long as you're comfy.
Okay. I'll tell you something. Sorry about that. I always believe the way you present yourself is the way you are perceived. That's why radio people become famous. You know why? Because their personality, their energy, their character comes out via voice. So if you're feeling good and if you're looking amazing, guess what? There's an air of confidence that comes with that. And you know you mean business. If you're going to be wearing pajamas and everything else, your mind is looking at that scene and is thinking, why are we not Netflixing? So something must be wrong.
I love that. You're great. Now, this is something that I enjoy. You have something that you say, and you say you believe that there's no meaning of life if you don't have something to live for. And you live your truth. What's your message to people? Because you are somebody that I reckon every person, especially a child from certain backgrounds, can aspire to and say, if he can do it, so can I.
Absolutely. I'm really touched with, that sentiment, because I viscerally believe that every single one of us here in this world is here to live, to learn, and to contribute. We're here to live the life that evolves us into who we're actually supposed to become. And we need to learn what we need to do so we can become that person. I mean, obviously, it's evident that learning is a really big part of my, my whole being. And contribution. Contribution is basically giving off of your talent, giving off of your time, giving off of your expertise, so you can also help other people be, do, and have a happier existence. So it's so important that you fill yourself up just so you can have an overspill for other people. And it's a vicious cycle. So for me, if you can live and learn and you can contribute, you will have a happier existence.
Universe understands this. You know, in the quantum field, we are all energy. And the vibrations of positivity come from you and are reflected back at you. And this is what you're giving to the world. And I love your goal. You say your goal in life is to change the world in a way so that no child starves or no dog dies in the cold street. That is compassion on steroids.
Absolutely. You see, when people are, there's this whole statement that maybe you would have seen in a bathroom at school or something when we were growing up. Yeah, there was this sign that says, "Leave this toilet better than you found it." And when I started reading, that was literally one of the things that I first read. So it stuck with me. So coming from a place where some kids go without only because somebody did not do their homework or just had a kid and does not care, or you don't see it in the first world, but if you go in any third world country, there's dogs, there's animals, there's cats that are just strayed because they are out there gallivanting for food. But if we all live in a life where we fill ourselves up, then we'll have an overspill to give. And if we can give, giving doesn't mean you give money alone. Giving is what we're doing right now. Susan, do you understand what is actually happening right now? We are freezing time. You have given off of your platform. I'm giving off of my time. And this is set in stone. There could be Sally, John, or Ruben who's listening to this in 2057. We did this in 2020 because we gave of our time. That teacher gave of her time by coming to Australia, from Australia to Africa. You gave of your time. You were a teacher as well. From what I understand, you gave somebody hope. So if we really live our life to the fullest, we can have other people emulating what we have done, because then we're sharing the lessons that we've learned and we're contributing to the greater hood of humanity.
I totally see that. I mean, the law of reciprocation or the law of giving, as you say, it doesn't have to be money. It's your time, and when you're doing it genuinely from your heart, this is what universe also understands, is you receive what you give. And that's where people in churches or wherever it is, they believe in tithing. I think that's part of where they feel that they give towards something that they believe in. And this is not only necessary for people who go to a mosque or a church or any of these sort of things. Every human should understand this law, and they wouldn't be sitting there saying, "Oh, poor me, I don't know why I got no life," because you got no life if you're not prepared to step out and also open yourself up, like you said, to be aware of what's happening, because nothing is by coincidence. Everything. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether you're in a queue waiting for something for coffee, let's say 1.5 meters apart, wearing a face mask. The person behind you or in front of you, you may chat to, and they've just got one tiny little thing that they say that you spark on. And if you are aware, you follow up on that. And I think where you say about children, and we had a long conversation about this the other day when we met up on Zoom, we should never tell our children that they can't believe or it's impossible.
Absolutely.
We were chatting about this, and we were talking about education, where people have the old-fashioned beliefs that you've got to do it this way. If a child's creative and amazing like your little girl is, let her or him do what they're good at so that they can develop into this incredible, unique being. We all have an individual soul, just like we all have an individual fingerprint.
Absolutely. That is absolutely true. I'm just going to touch on the one thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier, that we are all energy. All right. Whatever energy you are giving off of, no matter how socially distancing you are with other people, you're also contributing to the outcome of what's going to happen to everybody else. So my question to everybody is just, who are you to stop the future generations from living a happier existence just because you're too selfish to contribute? And like you said, there's so much that's happening right now that kids are being brought back home so that we can homeschool them. And just, to put context to what you've mentioned, that my little girl does not understand the formal stuff that she has to learn, but she is taking an incline or a liking to typing, and I'm letting her do that because, well, for my own selfish reasons, at least it keeps her entertained. But I know that's a skill that she's going to carry on for the rest of her life.
Absolutely. I mean, this day and age, everybody needs to know how to do that. So why not start young? It's like these savant children who at the age of 3 can play piano concertos and things like that.
Absolutely.
Why stop somebody doing something that they just have this natural ability to do? And it's, this is where I like what you say. You say you're weird and that you've taught yourself how to make people smile and make them believe in everything. That is so cool, Prosper.
You see, when I came to Australia, right, I had nothing but a backpack full of hopes and dreams. I'm coming from a place where the whole village raises a child. So when you come around here where even your neighbor does not talk to you, it's a very confusing place to be for an African person. The first thing you would want to do is talk to the person sitting next to you in the tram, just find out how their day's going. talk to the person you meet on your way to the office. That doesn't happen around here. And it's very sad to say that it's never going to happen in a very long time. And kids are never going to know the pain of having your hand crushed by a handshake because social distancing. All right. So
Absolutely.
the only way you can really communicate with somebody from a distance is just really show them that the energy in me is the same energy in you. Let's celebrate that. And the only communication you can do is with a smile. You know, when I was holding my little girl and she was, you know, at an age where only facial expressions were the communication we had, I was so training myself because I wanted her to know that I appreciate her for choosing me to raise her, because those people have a brain on their own as well. They made a choice before they came here, and that's yet another story. So I wanted her to realize right from the get-go that I appreciate, and all we did was just smile at each other. She would be like, yeah, I knew you were the one. And I was like, yeah, thank you. So if you
Absolutely. I love that.
If you can communicate at that level, humans are instinctively kids at heart.
We all are.
Right, exactly. You know? And if you really want to put it in perspective, a lot of people stop actually learning, I think, at age 12. And the rest, they're just working on instinct. So why not bring them back to who they actually are? We're walking around as zombies. I wrote about this today, you know, in our corporate world, where the only distinction between your home life and your professional life is sorry to say, but a Zoom background. Yeah, there's a whole world going on behind there. But why not bring it all together? I've been working from home for a very long time. All I had to do to crack even into the modeling scene was to smile. Have you ever noticed, you know, models have this chiseled look and very scary as if they're constipated? I broke the mold, and I have photos of me smiling with a big wide smile out there. And for somebody who's in the public image, I would have been self-conscious about my teeth. You know, I've got a really wide gap and it keeps going, but I've told myself it's because I smile too much. My teeth even smile with me. You know what I mean? So it's things like that you can't take it away from anybody who's, I don't know, Susan, you feel that?
Oh, totally. You were talking earlier on about what I believe is a sacred contract before you're born. And you write that, you sign it.
Yeah.
And you decide exactly what you're going to do when you go back for that chance to live a life in a human meat suit, as I call it. And you get to choose. You get to choose everything before you are born. And you are so right that from, you know, having been in education for nearly 40 years, I know for a fact that a child, even in a mother's womb, knows and hears and feels. And it's paramount that you start to treat that soul with absolute love. Coming from Africa myself and living on a farm where we had 1,200 people that were our employees, I got to really know and understand the people. And I mean, even when I was a little girl, I was brought up, and my first friends were African people. You know, I spoke the lingo before I knew how to speak English. So what I do know is there's this beautiful love in the Africans where they understand the soul journey. And they also understand how important it is as a community to love one child and all the children, because they all belong to you. So that child was born into that community, not only for the parents, the birth parents, but for every one of those people in that tribe. They're all teachers to that child. And that is what really, you inspire me, because you bring on this thought. And in this time of COVID-19, there are so many people who should listen to this philosophy, the philosophy of an African tribe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it was so confusing for me when I came around here. I felt really, really lost. You'd go in, wait a minute. Is there something wrong with me? I even started questioning my own existence up until I started doing stuff like signing up. Like you said, you also want to do some modeling. There's a website called starnow.com.au. All right, where photographers who are starting out reach out to models who want to build a portfolio, and you do it contra, as in you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and there's a lot of that going on. All right. That's how I started sort of meeting people up until I realized, wait a minute, there's a whole bottom feeder level of people that are not really getting the really good jobs right at the top. Just like in any industry, it's always, for lack of a better term, it's always a pyramid. The bottom is filled up with players. And right at the top, there's 2 or 3 people that are actually enjoying the whole, the whole field. But you gotta be invited up. There's no way they will show you the button to the elevator. So I was looking around for that button everywhere I was going, and you never know who's holding that button. That's the one thing that I've gotten to know. You never know who knows somebody that knows something about somebody. And once you figure out that everybody is equal ground. Everybody's a level playing field, because you never know who they know. And if you're going to be grumpy at the one person, there's a lot of movies, right, where somebody's so angry they walk into an interview and then they probably hit somebody on the subway or hit them with a bike, and only to find the person turning around in that scenario is the person you yelled at on the subway. So when things like that are happening in a fictitious world, how many sort of coincidences are we turning away just because we woke up on the wrong side of bed?
You're right there. And again, this is the law of attraction. It's energy. You put out the bad energy, you get back the bad energy, as the Buddhists and people like that say, bad chi. You breathe out the good stuff, or it all works for you, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We are, like you said, we are all balls of energy. All right. Like just you being here right now, how many coincidences had to happen for this interview to take place? For some weird reason, COVID happened. And then you got stuck here in Australia. And yesterday I saw you on some Zoom video.
I know, wasn't that? I couldn't get over that. I saw you and I thought, here we go. I'm meant to see this guy a lot more.
How small is this world? And if you start looking at all these little coincidences, you now start realizing, wait a minute. Maybe the reason why you had been in Zimbabwe at that time was so that you could say that first letter that you say to me, as in Makadini, you say it in my language, and I'm like, wait a minute, who's this lady? She's speaking my language. And, well, obviously, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that was it. That whole time, your whole point or mission in life was so you could say those words. And now who's to know what this show is going to create for somebody, or what spark it's going to create?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
So
yeah, I do. I love it. And this is why I love Awaken Your Mind Magic as well, because I adore the fact that I have such inspirational people who really have made it big time in life. And they have done it on their own. They've opened themselves up and they've said, hell no, I am going in this direction. So you living from the dream you had as a little boy and living the blueprint you created, where you thought, I'm going to do what that lady does. And off you went, and you did. And this is not just this, listeners. You've got to know this man. I mean, we talked about his modeling, and he was a talent scout for the Australian Academy of Modeling. So know that not only did he just be a model with his big smile, and he's got a big gap in his teeth, which is a sign of generosity, by the way. Did you know that, Prosper? So, but he ended up being a talent scout for the Australian Academy of Modeling. Now, before then, he has worked damn hard at his education. This man has been incredible with what he's learnt. Tell us more about your education, because you've been very quiet and humble about
it. You see, there's learning and then there's education. Education, you go in and you do the hours and you swap those hours for a certificate. I used to laugh at myself saying, all that I've learned in the 4 years, I'm only going to have to experience or expand it in the 40 minutes that an exam brings about. All right. So having been brought up with middle-class parents, they obviously expected the best in me. I absolutely love my dad for that. My mom passed, by the way. So I also feel like all that I'm doing is showing her what I could have been, what she would have wanted me to see. But the fact that she's not there to say, hey, son, this is enough. I think I'm just going to keep working until I hear those words, you know? But for me, it's been like that. So formal education got me, it opened up doors for me. All right. It made me seen and obviously be able to talk to people, and I have the credentials. But when I went on a journey of
Go get her. I can hear his little girl's crying in the background there. So, and he's sort of like, whoops, not talking anymore. My baby's crying. I think she's your soul sister. She came to join you from the other side.
Right. So, what I was saying is, so when I went on a journey to start really at learning, all right, I realized that the learning never ends. With formal education, you've got a due date. You learn and you ask, is this going to be in the test? And if it's not worth your time knowing about it. But right now, I believe there's 7 or 8 facets in our life. Your health, your wealth, your fitness, your relationships, your communication, everything about that. There has been a book written to explain how to do it well and above average. Now that fascinates me, because if somebody has taken the time to learn a particular part of life and put 250 pages on there, that means that thing is important. So I would never talk about my education because I'm not done yet.
Okay. So you're not going to talk about your education, but tell us about your Live Long company.
Absolutely.
Let us know more about that, because I think the customers, your customers, your future customers, my listeners are going to want to become your customers. Tell us more.
Absolutely. So I created a company or a business that helps small to medium businesses reach their customers using the energy of the world. And it's usually organic, rich. So there are ways that you can, market your business. You could just pay somebody some money and go in and interrupt people that don't care about your existence, and you're just causing noise, which is what all the advertising is out there in the world. I believe if you've got a message that is directed to a particular market, the universe is your media to share that message. And this is what I do and help people. And I've created tools and strategies for people to actually really reach their customers. And usually customers that you get in this energetic way, they pay, they stay, and they refer. which is why nearly all of my clients have businesses that are profitable and they actually enjoy working in their business.
How many people have you helped in this way?
See, every single day I get either a review or somebody that's just says, hey, thank you, or whatnot. Clients that have actually paid us to date, without sounding obnoxious or whatnot, we've helped over 450 plus businesses.
That's fantastic.
That's who we can count, right? But 3 days ago, it was my birthday.
Happy birthday. I did wish you happy
Thank you
birthday.
very much. And it's days like that I try and see, because some people wait until their death to see if they were actually loved. But it's days like that I really see that there's genuine appreciation of the work that I'm doing there. Since 3 years ago, what I started doing was I would ask people on my newsfeed and say, hey, it's a Friday today. If you've met me out, would you buy me a drink? And everybody would say, yeah, I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you a drink. Yeah, I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you a drink. And then I figured, wait a minute, let me cultivate this energy. And then I would send that person back a message and I say, I've got a wish list on Amazon and it's all the books that I want to read. And a drink would probably cost $12. This book will probably cost $9. Are you able to substitute that drink for a book? And ever since, that has been a tradition for the last 3 years. Right now, the books are coming in. I do it on the 1st of August and my birthday is on the 24th to allow shipping and everything else. Right now, the books are starting to come in. Some came in, one came in yesterday, and it's people that I have never spoken to, but they feel the need to reciprocate what I have done for them by buying me a book. Just so, because like you said, reciprocation, the more you give, the more you get back. I'm not saying go out there and start asking for books or whatever, because you got to earn it. But what I'm saying is I measure the amount of people that want to reciprocate, because you never know what I have done. Every single day I'm putting out content, I'm putting out energy, I'm really being the role model that I want to become. And you never know who you're impacting along the way. So that's usually a test. I can't count the thousands of people that cannot yet afford our services that I've actually helped as well. For me, those are the most important people. Because one day they're going to show up and say, hey, I've been watching you for the last 4 years. I can't do anything right now, but this is the least I can do for you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, well done. Now, you also followed your dream of going and living in different countries. How many different countries have you lived in so far?
Great stuff. That's a really good question. So before all this, I was a nerd, you know. I was and I couldn't have my parents, even though we were okay, they couldn't afford to buy me the Nintendo game console. So I would only see it from other kids that their parents were rich and everything else. And I made it a point that if I can't, and I'll tell you the story of what I'm doing now. If I can't get the console, I want to go and work there, right? And I started researching where the headquarters for Nintendo was, and I found out it was in Aschaffenburg. And I literally worked for 2 years straight, saved enough, and got my Schengen visa, and I went and stayed in Germany for 9 months. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut. Ich habe 9 Monate gestanden in Aschaffenburg und ich weiß es nicht, ich kann nicht gelebt und because, sorry, I just spoke a bit of German because I had to learn a lot of German.
Ich kann alles verstehen.
Du auch? Warum?
Ich auch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we need to translate that to the people who don't know what
So-
I could hear you were saying.
Okay, so I said I went and I lived in Germany for 9 months. And I had to learn, I was happy, but I had to learn the language. So it felt like I was starting all over again.
Yeah.
Plus, I was not in the right frame of mind. So I lived in Germany. And then from there, I moved back to Zimbabwe and things were not really working out in Zimbabwe. I went and lived in Malawi, which is pretty much, what can you say, another country in Africa there. I didn't talk about my days in university in South Africa because my parents, were paying for that. So, it's the perks of being of son. But then after that, I came to Malawi where I was the operations manager for the second biggest telecommunications company there. All right. So that now was my corporate experience of, hey, I'm in another country, I'm serving a lot of people. And I viscerally believe what Zig Ziglar says, help enough people get what they want, you too will get what you want. All right.
There you go.
So I help people get connected, and we sort of introduced internet. There was what was called WiMAX technology, and that's how I then ended up in Australia anyway, because I had to come and learn all of that technology, here coming in from Singapore. So, I've now become a child of the universe. If you look at my household, I've got 2 Australian kids. I'm Zimbabwean. My wife is of Italian descent. So it's like an omelet, The world has just become this one big global village. And if you're not welcome anywhere you're going, you must be doing something wrong.
Well, I reckon you are, and your family would have every door open to you, and you would be very welcome into each and every home. You were in the States for a period, weren't you?
Absolutely. Well, we watched a lot of TV, all right? So TV influenced me, all the rappers, and I wanted to be in Chicago, Oprah Winfrey was talking about the Windy City, and she was giving people cars, So I just felt...
You went there to get a car or to meet Oprah.
Oprah is like, you got a car. And so a lot of my influence has been outside influence. And I've just been lucky that I've had parents that have created a safe space for me where wherever I went, I could always go back. But this is the longest I've stayed in one place, 9 years now. So this is home now. So yeah, and I'm
feeling that way. I love Australia and the Australians. I'm a wannabe Aussie. They're great people. And you are helping so many of them as well. And there's something that I picked up there when you were speaking about parents. When you have supportive parents who believe in you and allow you to be the person you're meant to be, like your parents have, that's why you've got these giant wings and you can soar. And you're doing it and you're flying solo. Okay, you got the family there, but you are doing this because you believe in yourself. And I so wish that people would understand this, that the love and self-love starts within yourself first. I know you believe this because you've got some of these quotes that I've picked up that you say. Never allow someone to be your priority while you're just their option.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that one.
Oh, absolutely. You see, when you're on your way up, you usually think that everybody else was where you want to be. You got to give them your all. And people take advantage because if they can see that you're willing to do anything, they would take advantage. And half of the time, they don't even bat an eyelid to see if you're doing okay. And a lot of people only realize that a little bit later on in life. It happens in relationships. It happens in business partnerships. It happens in work where the client takes and gives nothing back. They want your undivided attention, but when it comes to paying the invoice, they're nitpicking, and they don't value the work that you're putting out there. So it's just if you really fill yourself up, you would have an overspill and you would have loads to give. We all fly and we go places. Whenever you see those beautiful ladies, showing you the exits and everything else, it's not a dance. They're giving you the best life lesson right there. What do they say when, in case of emergency, put your mask on first? And I obviously right now after this, I'm going to be so rich. I'm probably going to be flying private, but I only fly economy, just so that I hear that message again and again and again. Put your mask on first, because you're useless if you can't breathe.
I hear you. I used to be a three-stripe officer on cruise liners, and we each were, they would give us a bit of a sort of evaluation and a test to see if we were mentally capable. And then you'd be assigned to be if you were good enough, they felt, to be a person in charge of a lifeboat.
Wow.
And I had that honor of being a person in charge of a lifeboat, where I would be the person there to take people onto a lifeboat and be in charge of whatever happened. And it was exactly the same thing. It was a great lesson to me, is I had to make sure I had my life jacket on first before I tried to help anybody else.
Absolutely.
And it's the same analogy where you speak about the face mask. And that's the same even with face masks in COVID-19. Put that on first so you don't sneeze on somebody else. It's, hello. Talking about COVID-19, what do you wish for the future in this world post-COVID-19?
You see, COVID-19 for me is a little bump on the way to big things. I viscerally believe that most of us live a life unplanned, go on a journey without setting the destination on the GPS. All right? Whenever you're going somewhere, right, the address that you put is not the address of where you are. You put the address of where you're going. And then that GPS self-navigates to where you are. In the event that you come across a speed hump or a detour, right, that's not the end of your journey. So a lot of us haven't put the GPS of what it looks like when we have arrived. For me, this is basically yet another episode for us to actually realign with who we absolutely are. We've been brought back to factory settings, and now we have to really face the people we've been trying to avoid all this time, which is our family, ourselves. And pretty much after this, yes, it might change a few things. It's been a long time coming. There's been instances like this in the past where after this, the Industrial Revolution came about or the Agricultural Revolution came about. Now we're in the information age. All we've known about industry, all we've known about, how the world functions right now is now an index or a Google search away. What we now need is people that can make sense of that information. If you know how to do X, Y, and Z, package that into a little nice something and pass it on to the next person so that they too can make sense of the world around them. So this is where we are being ushered into. And I can't wait for the next events to come around.
I agree with you there. This is not a time of destruction. And I tell my clients this. This is a time of construction. And I created a 3-day program that I work with my clients now. In a coaching world, you go on and on coaching. People don't have time for that now. So my program it's called Blueprint Mind Map. And Prosper, what it does is within 3 to 4 hours, they've created their mind map and they've done exactly what you're saying to everybody, because it's great advice. Get your act together, put it into a blueprint, and live it very quickly, because the greatest millionaires were created in the Great Depression. And this is another one, and you can do it so well because we've got this technology. I mean, you're a digital buff. You can help people with their websites, with all sorts of things, and it just makes sense. So what you've said to everybody is so clear to me, and I trust that by the time they listen to this, they come to you and they say, hey, Prosper, I need your assistance, please, and I will send you a big book to thank you.
Absolutely.
How can the listeners get hold of you? Is there a quick thing that you can tell me? Obviously, I'm going to put everything that you have, and there's a long list, everyone, on when we upload this interview, so that you can find him because he's amazing. But can you let people know very briefly how they can call you or how they can get hold of you?
Absolutely. I'm just going to say something there, Susan. Remember when we started, you said, please switch off your phone or any notifications. And I told you there's 157 ways I calculated how people can get a hold of me. So since I visually work within the SEO sector, just typing in my name is enough. Prosper Taruvinga. All right. If you Google my name, Prosper Taruvinga, you will be led to at least one of my properties online that would then show you where you really want to go. So it's just my name. Oh, live long and prosper. And that basically would lead you towards, whatever it is you're seeking.
Well, Prosper, your parents, they named you well. They knew that you were going to do it. They even gave you a name to live with. And that's another African tradition I love, is they give their children these lovely names and they live by those names. So thank you to your parents for that, and to your now departed mum, who in African tradition, of course, is around you all the time. Thank you so much, Prosper, for being on this wonderful interview today. You've been an absolute gem.
Absolutely. It takes two to tango. All right. It takes two.
I'm going to tango with you next time I see you.
Absolutely. If you didn't give me the energy, or if you didn't create this platform, then none of this would have happened. So I absolutely thank you for making this space, not just for yourself, but the people that are going to be enjoying all the talks that you're bringing to them. So on behalf of everybody else, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Prosper. And to everybody out there, you gotta go and find this man. He is the prosperous gem of the century. Bye now, Prosper. That's Awaken Your Mind Magic for another week. If anything you've heard today has really impacted you and you want to know more, or you would just like to connect with me, then visit my website, awakenyourmindmagic.com, and reach out for a free one-on-one discovery session with me.
Silver on the outside, silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Tune in next week, where I'll be discussing more tools to unlock your dreams and live a limitless life that you would truly love to live. I'm Susan Kathleen, and this has been Awaken Your Mind Magic.